Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. We have our first look at Woody Harrelson as Carnage on the set of Venom 2, so we'll break it down. We also have an idea for how everything connects with Morbius Movie, Venom 2, and all the Spider-Man stuff that they're setting up with Sinister Six. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. So we'll talk about the Venom 2 Carnage scenes that they were filming. Someone got some footage of them filming on set, and then Tom Hardy himself posted some pictures of the Carnage character, then quickly deleted them, of course, as you would expect. Then I'll talk about all the crossover stuff and how everything connects with the Morbius movie, Michael Keaton's Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming, and the MCU Spider-Man stuff. So we'll just do this top 5 WTF style, starting with number 5. This is the picture of Cletus Cassidy in the movie that Tom Hardy just posted, revealing that they've retconned that terrible, terrible red wig away. Maybe there's a scene somewhere early in the movie where they shave it off, or they just show up at the beginning of the film and he's already shaved it. Who cares? Doesn't matter because they got rid of that terrible wig. But this is still a wig that he's wearing because Woody Harrelson is bald in real life. It's just a vastly improved wig that's way shorter and suits him much more. It's like they saw the drama with the Sonic movie last year and the redesign and the negative fan response after the Venom post-credit scene with Carnage and the earlier version of his terrible wig and said, yep, right thing to do is we're just going to change that right away. Doesn't matter what his haircut looks like in the comics, if he has long hair, if it looks terrible in the movie on Woody Harrelson, we should change it. And if you can't tell because it's super dark where they're filming this scene, he's strolling around the streets of San Francisco at night in a red Hawaiian shirt wearing a necklace. Very subtle. If he gets any other wardrobe changes in the movie besides wearing the Carnage symbiote, I'm sure they'll try to keep his color palette in reds just to match the symbiote, if the symbiote itself isn't generating that Hawaiian shirt. The fact that he's wearing civilian clothes should also tell you that he's already escaped from San Quentin prison, so this might be taking place towards the beginning of the movie. I'll explain the timeline in a second. But number 4, this is the footage of the scene of them filming right after this, because he's wearing the exact same outfit, also in the San Francisco streets, just getting gunned down by a bunch of cops trying to arrest him again. You can guess how that's gonna go, but if you can't tell from the way he's moving here, he's eating all the bullets, holding his arms out, making motions like the Carnage symbiote is covering him up and protecting him. It's the exact same type of scene they did in the first Venom movie when the cops attacked Eddie Brock and he tried to warn them off, like, you really, really don't want to do this. Please, don't try to attack me. It's only gonna end badly for you.
Mask! Copy! What the hell is that thing?
They put that scene in all the trailers just because it was so cool, but it just seems like this Carnage version is going to be the darker version of that scene, where he just eats all the bullets, then takes out all the cops in gruesome fashion. Number 3, what is the timeline of the Venom 2 movie, and how does Cletus Cassidy get the Carnage symbiote? How does he escape from prison? We all know the Carnage origin story in the comics. Carnage is the offspring of the Venom symbiote. He gets it because they were cellmates, but Eddie Brock wasn't in prison during the Venom post-credit scene, so they were always going to have to find some other way for Cletus Cassidy to get the Carnage symbiote. Well, here's where things come back around to the Morbius movie, because obviously, whatever you think about the MCU being connected to all of this stuff because of the Spider-Man stuff and the Michael Keaton stuff they're teasing, the Venom movie and the Morbius movie are directly connected. Morbius is being billed as a direct spin-off of Venom. So there have been some recent reports about the Morbius movie having some shared scenes with Venom 2 that provide some continuity and help set up him getting the symbiote and using it to escape prison. And supposedly that also coincides with the Sinister Six Michael Keaton stuff that's setting up a different Sinister Six Spider-Man movie that I'll also explain in a second too. But I think the real reason why they wanted Morbius to cross over with Venom 2 and set all this up is so they can explain how Carnage gets the symbiote and goes on his rampage by the first act of Venom 2, and they don't have to spend a bunch of time at the beginning of Venom 2 explaining how that all happens. They can just start the movie and get right into the action. Like, we all knew what they were saying at the end of the Venom post-credit scene. They said that there'd be carnage, so just give us that scene. Don't spend 30 minutes explaining how they get to that scene. Just start off with them going crazy. Number 2, so here's the Morbius movie crossover stuff with Venom 2 and all the Spider Man Sinister Six stuff. There's a report stating that during the Morbius movie, he winds up being captured by the authorities after he gets his powers, and while he's in jail in the New York City area, they briefly sent him from New York to San Quentin prison, where Carnage is currently being held. They're also claiming that this Michael Keaton Vulture cameo scene in the Morbius trailer isn't happening in the New York City area, even though that's where the Vulture went to jail in Spider-Man Homecoming. They're saying that between the events of the Spider-Man Homecoming post-credit scene with Vulture and Scorpion, Avengers Infinity War, the snap, Avengers Endgame, everyone getting snapped back, that since that's all happened in the future, Vulture and the Sinister Six characters like the Scorpion were also transferred to San Quentin prison in the San Francisco area. In this Morbius Spider-Man Vulture scene is for Sinister Six setup, but they're using the San Quentin location as a nexus for a bunch of movies that they're teasing in the future, a bunch of Sony Marvel movies. Like in that Morbius trailer scene with the Vulture, it's implied that he's in the middle of breaking out to set up Spider Man Sinister Six movie with Vulture, Scorpion, and also they're setting up Carnage getting the symbiote and breaking out of prison, while these guys in the Morbius character are busy breaking out of that prison. You can make as many theories as you want about how much Venom will cross over with potential Sony Spider-Man Sinister Six movies. I don't know anything about that right now. Right now I'm still thinking of Venom as a different franchise from Spider-Man and Sinister Six stuff. Venom was never really in the classic Sinister Six roster, but I don't think that would stop Sony from trying to include Venom in any potential Sinister Six Spider-Man team-up movie. But number one, WTF, obviously the last big thing, what about the Spider-Man scene in the Morbius trailer? If they're already teasing Spider-Man crossover in Morbius, which is coming out in July this year, what kind of Spider-Man Venom Carnage crossover will they tease in Venom 2? Well, the same report about the Sinister Six Carnage Venom stuff happening in the Morbius movie also went on to say that this scene of Morbius walking past the Spider-Man picture is the only actual Spider-Man we get during the movie. Like, Tom Holland himself doesn't have a real cameo scene during the Morbius movie, it's just him walking past this, letting you know that Spider-Man exists within this world. But it does clarify what's going on with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man suit. They said that in the final version of the movie, they're going to digitally replace this Tobey suit with the Tom Holland Spider-Man Far From Home suit, so it'll make way more sense. There were a lot of big Spider-Verse theories, like maybe they're setting up Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse if this version of Spider-Man is going to be Tobey Maguire in this Morbius Venom universe. Even though that does sound like a really cool idea, it just sounds like what Sony is actually doing is just misleading us, and they're going to change it in the final version of the movie, and it'll be way simpler to explain which version of Spider-Man this is. They do it all the time in Marvel MCU trailers. They did it during Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, Thor Ragnarok. This is just the latest example of a big Hollywood studio misleading you with footage in a trailer. So if there was any confusion, just don't expect Tom Holland himself to be walking around inside the Morbius movie, but Venom 2 Spider-Man scenes will probably wind up being much bigger if they're just going to sort of continue that idea of setting up the idea of Spider-Man within this universe. Spider-Man has a much deeper connection to the Venom character in the comics, so it would be weird for him to have a huge moment in the Morbius movie, but then not in Venom 2. So of course we're all expecting something big in Venom 2. Maybe a big Venom 2 post-credit scene with the actual Tom Holland Spider-Man on screen. There were reports that Sony was negotiating with Tom Holland's people for an actual Venom 2 cameo scene, sort of in the vein of Michael Keaton's Vulture cameo scene during the Morbius movie. Something on that level with Tom Holland in Venom 2. Bonus WTF2, there's also the idea that they're using J. Jonah Jameson as a point of crossover to connect all the MCU and all the Sony-verse, Spider-Verse, Venom-verse stuff, however you want to think about it. So if you remember the Spider-Man Far From Home post-credit scene with J. Jonah Jameson doing his DailyBugle.net rant on Spider-Man, supposedly there's going to be something like that during the Morbius movie at some point when he's in and around the New York City area in the present day of the film, and I think if that winds up being true, then that will also confirm that he's probably going to show up doing the exact same thing during Venom 2. Yes, all the Daily Bugle stuff that we saw on the set of the Morbius movie was from the Tobey Maguire era where the Daily Bugle had this logo, it was a newspaper, it wasn't the DailyBugle.net. But if this version of Spider-Man is going to be digitally replaced with the Tom Holland Spider-Man Far From Home suit, they might wind up doing the same thing with the Easter eggs for the Daily Bugle when they're calling out Spider-Man. Spider-Man missing, where is he? But we'll see. Everybody let me know in the comments, what do you want them to do with Tom Holland Spider-Man inside Venom 2? Are you hoping for a post-credit scene, or just some brief cameo scene, or maybe just some stock footage of him showing up on a J. Jonah Jameson broadcast with him yelling about how Spider-Man is a villain and needs to be captured? Remember the Morbius trailer? Apparently Spider-Man cannot be found. Nobody knows where he is. No joke, the DailyBugle.net is a real website that Sony created to promote the Spider-Man movies, but it also sounds like they're going to use it to promote all the Spider-Verse stuff, the Venom-verse, and the Morbius stuff too. I will do more Venom and Morbius Spider-Man videos soon. The Venom 2 trailer should be released sometime in March, so of course I'll do a video for that whenever it comes. Next year, Sony is actually releasing 2 Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man 3 and then a mystery Spider-Man movie that they have not revealed yet. Click here for my video all about that and what movie I think that's going to wind up being, and click here for my new Avengers Infinity Saga deleted scene. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay awesome, this is The Way.